everybody, and welcome back to this tutorial. And as you can see in the previous video, we successfully ran both our server and our reverse shell.py. Right now what we are going to do is add just a little bit of code to our server and to our reverse shell in order to be able to execute or to send messages between these two programs. So let us start off with the server. I will just zoom this in so you can see everything better. Let me just enlarge the entire terminal and let me open server.py. So what we have here is the actual socket creation part. So what we can do with this is, first of all, delete the s.close and put this entire part into one big function, or it is not even that big, but we can just add it right there. So what we can do is just type here def server, and we can tab this entire code into this function right here. So we tab everything right here as it should be. And also what we need to do right now is actually create a global variable s, since we are going to use the s in other functions as well. And we actually must have the s variable to be global in order to be able in order for our program to be able to recognize the s variable. So we can do that just by specifying the actual, let me just go right here. In the beginning of the function, we can just specify 3 global variables. Since we are going to use the global variable s for our socket object, we are going to use the global variable IP, since we are going to print it later on. And we are also going to use the global variable target once we actually specify functions which we will use to actually send and receive data between these two programs. So all we have to do down here is actually call this function server, so we can actually execute this part of code. And right after that, we're going to call the function called shell. So what this function shell will do is it will be a function that will perform the actual sending and receiving of the messages. So let us go up here, type def shell. The function will not take any input right now. And what we want to do is basically at the beginning of the function, we want to enter an infinite while loop. So we can do that with while true. Now the reason why we are entering the infinite while loop is because we want to send the commands for as long as we want. But before we actually enter it, let us just try to test the program in order to see if we can actually send messages without the while true loop. So what we can do is just type here a variable called command, which will be our command, or basically we will store the command that we input into this program right here. So what we want to use then is the actual so command equals input. We want to ask for the input of the user, or in this case us, and we want to add something like this. So shell, then just paste everything that I type right here, so hash, then we can use this sign, and then %s, so %s and 2 dots in order to make this look like a terminal shell. So you will see how this will look like. If we just add instead of the %s, we will add a string of the IP. So because of this usage right here of the IP variable, we had to specify it in the server function to be a global variable. So we close the double brackets, and all we want to do is actually just try to send this to the target. So we can just use s.send, and what we want to send is actual command. And after we send this, so right now what we want to do is actually receive some message from the actual target. So we can just do something like this, message equals target.receive. And the amount of bytes we want to receive would be 1024, just for this specific task. Now we will do some of the changings later on, but for now let's just leave it like this. And after that, let us print the actual message right here. So let me just try this right now. So if I save this, save it, then go and add the code to the actual reverse shell as well. So what we will need to do is actually add another shell function right here, which will actually perform the same thing. So let me just call it down here, shell, and let's call the function or code the function right here. So shell, and we enter the, or not enter the while true loop once yet. We want to type here command equals s or sock.receive. We want to receive 1024 bytes. This is the max value of bytes we actually can receive. So we will see how we can fix that. So for example, if we from the server actually send to the target something larger than the 1024 bytes, or the target sends back to us some value that is larger than this, our program will crash. So later on we will see how we can actually fix this, but for now on all we want to do is simply just get back the message from the target. We want to actually send back, so sock.send, and we can specify here to send hello world. So we will send something to the target, and target will respond back to us with the actual hello world string. So first of all, what we need to do is call the shell function before the socket.close, so we don't actually close the connection before actually executing this function right here. And right now, let us see how this will work. So let's lower this, and let us actually run the server first. So Python 3 server, listening for incoming connections, and Python 3 reverse shell.py. So we are prompted for the command. So let us just type here the command hello. A bytes like object is required, not string. Okay, so if you get this error right here, that means you're running this with Python 3, which actually is the case. So in order to actually, oops, I didn't want to open the reverse shell, I want to open the actual server. And in order to actually do this, you need to actually encode this with the UTF in order to be able to send this and print the message back. So sock s.send, and we want to send the encode UTF -8 or -8, however you want to call it. And then close another bracket. And right here, we want to print the message.decode, since we are receiving also with the Python 3 UTF-8. And right now, I believe everything should work fine. I run this server. We specify here hello. Okay, let me just check this right here. Okay, so we need to actually change the code in the reverse shell as well. So let's send this in this way. So we will just type it right here. Message.encode UTF-8. And the message will be hello world. So let's see if it will work now. Hopefully it does. Otherwise we'll just switch to Python 2, since it is easier to actually specify this. Encode UTF broken pipe. Okay, never mind. What we are going to do is just run it with Python 2. So what you want to do is just delete these print colors. We will add it later on. For now, it is just presenting us the problem. There is really no point in me just finding the correct syntax for that function just to run it over Python 3. We will just run it over actual Python 2. So we don't waste too much of our time. We don't need this actual encoding anymore, since we're going to run it with Python 2. We want to print the message. We want to send the command. So return everything back as it was before. Do that with the actual reverse shell as well. I'm probably missing some library, but it doesn't even matter right now. We're going to run it with Python 2. So let us see. Let me just double check the server as well. Okay, everything should work good right now. And let us run this. No module, name term color. Okay, let me just run this in a hash, listening for incoming connections. And right now, if I run the reverse shell as well, I need to chmod it first. So chmod reverse shell.py. Okay, connection established. Hello. Hello is not defined. command equals input. Okay, so we need to change this as well, since in Python 2 we don't have input, we have raw underscore input. Too many errors. I should just start it with the Python 3 instead, but doesn't even matter. So let's see right now. Let me just check what the actual error is, since we still have some weird error, not really sure for which reason. So we send the command. Okay, there is the actual error. So this was the error all the time. We need to specify target.send and not s.send, since s.send means we are sending it back to ourselves. So we need to specify target.send. Not really sure how I didn't notice that error. And right now, for the final time, this should actually work. So we run the reverse shell, hello, and we get back hello world printed out. So we actually managed to finally run this program and get it to work. We send the message back to the target, and the target sent back the reply, which said hello world. So what we will do in the next lecture is we will run this in while true loop, and we will make a simple chat program, which then later on will turn into actually commands, or us sending the commands to target, and target sending us back the output of those commands. So hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye!